that was one of the key things about doing this was we all wanted to, we all had to be there, and we all made sure that we wanted to be there. We had this like little meeting. Obviously, Mike couldn't be there, but it was like Casey, Tim, and myself. And for me personally, I was just kind of like evaluating. Like I had already talked with Tim, and I knew he would be into it. I wanted to make sure Casey wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And Casey was funny. He's like, he's like, you know me, I'm German. He's like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm fucking excited. He's like, I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to do it. I'm like, all right, cool. That was good enough for me.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, real. It was
Yeah.
honest. He wasn't like, like, yeah, man, I'm fucking, that's more like me. I'm more like, dude, I'm so fucking excited to fucking do this, And he's just like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, you're into this, right? He goes, I wouldn't fucking be here if I wasn't. All right, cool. Yeah. Also, it was weird because we had like older, friends of mine with older brothers laying like shit like Gorilla Biscuits in on us. Descendants. I was a huge Descendants fan. So it was like this. It was all this different genre of punk rock, whether it was New York hardcore, old school punk. A lot of stuff didn't influence me in writing, but I got into later, like Misfits. We were all Danzig fans. That was a huge influence on Section 8. None of us really listened to the Misfits until later on. It's like it's weird how you kind of you have to take a couple steps back to realize, and you're like, oh my God, you almost curse yourself, like, man, wish I would have found this a little sooner. Wish I wasn't fucking brainwashed by MTV and Headbangers Ball the whole fucking time. So much more out there.
Yeah. Just saw Danzig in Montreal, actually. He played at the Heavy Montreal Festival.
How was that? Did he have Doyle with him?
Yes.
So they did the set?
Yeah.
Nice.
I Turned Into a Martian, Last Caress, a bunch of classics, 25-minute set of Misfits.
Nice.
Danzig 25th anniversary tour, all the songs from the first 3 albums.
Fuck, awesome.
I love the 4th album.
Yeah, 4th album is amazing.
It's one of the darkest. Mm-hmm. Darkest of the 4. I mean,
yeah.
They're all dark. He is dark dude, but 4th album, man, with fucking Behemoth covered until you call it dark.
Nice.
Fucking Polish Black and Death cover of Until You Call It Dark.
Fucking Polish death metal, man.
There's a
love
lot of
Behemoth. Oh my God.
Great Polish death.
There's not enough Hungarian death metal.
I haven't heard much of it. Being half Hungarian, half
right.
Canadian, I know there's good stuff out there.
Yeah.
I know there is. I just haven't been exposed to it, got into it.
All my buddies, from Skinless, Cephalic, even the guys from Dillinger, they've all played Budapest, and they're like, it's awesome. Like,
yeah.
Why aren't there any fucking bands coming out of there?
Yeah. Such a band called As You Drown, Sweden. You probably haven't heard of them. They're on Metal Blade, but they've been under promoted and they haven't toured.
Whether this is what we wanted to all do for a living, whether we could, we were young, but we were acquiring bills at the time, and it was like, do I need to settle down and get a job? Do I need to do this? As far as putting out any new material, I'm not saying we wouldn't have it in us. I don't know if it would be, speaking of that anger, the anger, the emotions. I mean, just rehearsing now the old songs. Now, it's not just like can I remember the songs? It's putting myself in the head of myself 15, 20 years ago. So I approach art in the same way. Art can never be completed, only abandoned. Well, in a sense that a lot of that was abandoned, and I'm trying to grab it all back, which in some senses it's been very easy. And he said, having not having that therapy for so many years, you're thirsty for it. But at the same time, just to say we can, material wise, oh my God, I've got hard drive on top of hard drive of songs and everything, but would it work? Who knows? My favorite, and this is a compliment to Mr. Jan Casey Dorr. We had a studio booked for about a month. The owner of the studio, we had like the B studio, we had the Schwag studio. The owner was out of town for like the entire month, so the guy that was recording us said, "Fuck it, let's do it in the A studio. We won't tell him." So we had 2-inch analog tape. It was fucking great. Mike, Tim, and I were there for almost the entire month, just doing all the music. Casey had he had a crazy job going on at the time. Don't remember what it was, but he had 2 days to do all of his vocals, and that was it. It was like the owner of the studio was coming back. We had to get out of there. It was like, we have 2 days. Let's get Casey up here. He's gonna fucking nail these. It's gonna be awesome. Good vibes. Yeah, there was like weird shit going on. Hail Bop was in the sky. This is how old this was. Hail Bop was in the fucking sky. We got pulled over. Picked our one little release from the studio. We went to pick up an ounce of weed. Immediately got pulled over by a state trooper. He took the weed but let us go. It was like, this fucking sign, man. This is like so cool. Casey shows up for his 2 days of recording. Fucking hammered. Like absolutely fucking annihilated hammered. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And this is day 1 of recording. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? He's hammered and he's got a case of beer under his arm. I'm like, oh my fucking God. I can't believe this is happening. So there was like these apartments. I excused myself. I'm like, I can't even fucking deal with this. I'm like, went upstairs. I think played video games or definitely smoked some weed. Probably took a nap or something. I don't know. They recorded late into the night. I think it was Mike and Casey were pretty much downstairs, and then our engineer Tom, and Tim and I were hanging upstairs, and we'd go downstairs to peek, but we didn't want to listen because we were like, this is gonna be an atrocity. This is such a waste of time. Next morning, I wake up, see Mike. I'm like, so how'd it go? He looked at me. He goes, well, we went through every song Casey did, his aggressives and his melodics. He's like, his melodics, he's like fucking atrocious. I'm like, yeah. He goes, his aggressives were unfucking believable. He goes, we're keeping everything. We're keeping all the. I'm like, really? So the next morning, Casey went back, did all of his melodic parts, all of his singing parts. So it was like one night of aggressive vocals, one morning of melodics, and that was all of his vocals for the 9 Ways. Everything you hear of him screaming obsessively, he was fucking insane and possessed and annihilated, and it was where he needed to be. He knew better than any of us, knew far better than I did where he needed to be to do that. Like, the ear I have at the time, I'll listen to it and be like, like tuning and shit and like the production, sometimes I'm like, oh, how did anybody listen to this? And then other times I'm like, there's a simplicity to it that I'm just like, yeah, this is kind of cheesy. But sometimes in simplicity, other times with a different ear, I'm like, all right, this isn't that bad. But that's awesome because I've even as a writer, I've been like, oh my God, this is, you cringe. Even in the early days, I'd get up on stage and you're cringing, like you're like, oh man, these uncertainties and insecurities about playing, and you're going out there like, I fucking mean this, and you do. You wrote this with fucking hate and anger and fucking angst, and you're like, you want to get out and fucking, turn it on a crowd, and, it's like some evil serum that you fucking trapped in a bottle, and you're like, here, fucking you deal with it,
Yeah. Yeah. It's I almost think that fans would rather someone in their favorite band die, so they could like romanticize what could have been.
What could have been,
Yeah,
right?
for years and years, than actually respect the band's decision to do things their way.
Right.
Like-
And for us, we knew, like, there was a lot of tension going on in the band between, I mean, all of us. And I don't want to single anybody out. All of us. There was just, like, tension going on. And we're like, this is not how we want to continue going on. And, we knew if we didn't, we didn't know. We stopped playing, and it was like, all right, it's done. And let's just not even talk about it. And there was about a year after we broke up, we started practicing again. But it was like, at that point, a year wasn't enough time. We picked up the same bullshit arguments and stupid crap that we left off a year earlier. And it was like, no, this is why we stopped. This is why we decided not to play. And it was a good decision,
And you know what?
Another comfortable thing that I think comfort is kind of a contradiction to it, but we're all still, I wouldn't say struggling. It's not like a economical struggle, but we're all still struggling. All of us, every fucking single one of us are struggling in one form or another, and that's like the beauty, the comfort of being with the people that you can feel vulnerable around. You don't care when they're busting your balls. It's like you welcome it, because you want to give it fucking back to them twice as hard, and they're gonna welcome it.
Yeah.
It's like that brotherhood of that's being able to play with people that you fucking love. And I've played with a million people since then, whether it was just on stage for a song or tried to formulate bands with, and nothing ever touched. Even not saying like it used to be, but even when I went back in when we had our first practice last week, it was like, see, this is what I always strive for after this band broke up, this feeling.